Time for the day's business news. Brian Quinn joining us for a perfectly delivered business bulletin. He is starting for what could be a big day for the US economy. Pressure's on now, Brian. Biden's administration's massive coronavirus rescue package.
Yes, that $1.9 trillion stimulus plan, Stuart, already passed in both the House of Representatives last week and the Senate on Saturday. Well, Tuesday, we'll see that bill head back to the House, with the Senate's changes now incorporated. Some of those include a lowering of extended weekly unemployment benefits from $400 down to $300, that in a bid to appease more conservative Democrats over the cost of the bill. A $15 per hour federal minimum wage also failing to make the final cut, but $1,400 checks for most Americans and major relief for state and local governments are still the headline features. Democrats want that bill signed into law by March 14th. That's when current federal jobless benefits are set to expire. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the administration is learning from past mistakes as it tries to get the U.S. economy back in top shape. Here she is.
I think there's a prospect that with an all-out effort on vaccination and reopening schools, that we can really get the labor market back on track later this year or next year to, avoid what we had after the financial crisis, which was almost a decade before the economy ever got back to full employment.
Janet Yellen there. Of course, the markets have been watching this very carefully, haven't they, Brian?
Indeed. Today, European indexes are opening mixed. Investors around the world, obviously, keeping a close eye on what happens later with that U.S. stimulus bill. CAC 40 here in Paris in positive territory. FTSE in London and the Frankfurt DAX, both in the red at the open. Asian indexes mixed as well. Nikkei in Tokyo finished the day up nearly a full percent amid gains in the banking and auto manufacturing sectors. Shanghai Composite down some 1.8%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng finishing just barely in the red. Kospi in Seoul ending the day down 0.2% as shares in big tech firms like Samsung and SK Hynix lost ground there.
Now, next, a push for more inclusivity in personal care. It's difficult to say that. As Unilever drops the word normal from its beauty products.
Stuart, what is normal hair, normal skin, normal news reading? We don't know.
We certainly don't know here.
Unilever, whose brands include Dove shampoo and Tresemme shampoo, says it has conducted a survey in which more than half of respondents felt that using the word normal to describe hair and skin is exclusionary. The company has now decided to ditch that word that currently finds itself on more than 100 brands worldwide. The UK-based consumer goods giant has faced criticism over several ad campaigns viewed as insensitive. That includes a recent ad for Tresemme in South Africa that presented blonde hair as normal and black women's hair as damaged, frizzy, and dull. That one set off protests. Well, the company also now says it will stop digitally altering body shapes, sizes, and skin tones in both its ads and those of paid influencers across all its brands.
Surprised it hasn't happened before, to be honest. Finally, for business from Brian, it's been just about a year since the COVID-19 pandemic threw, a real monkey wrench into global tourism. Here in Paris, it's now having a knock-on effect as well on the real estate market, isn't it?
Indeed, Stuart. Of course, we know that the French hotel industry was hit very hard by the pandemic, while the short-term holiday rental sector has also been hit hard. Prior to the crisis, many French people had purchased apartments to rent out on sites like Airbnb, while many of them are now being forced to resell as they're unable to make their mortgages. Jean-Emile Jamin and our colleagues at France Televisions have this story.
A studio in the historic Marais district in Paris and a two-room apartment in the heart of the capital's 16th arrondissement. Their common feature, they're both back on the real estate market, having previously been rented out for several years on Airbnb. With the health crisis deterring foreign tourists, some owners have separated from their properties, such as the case for this 40 square meter Parisian apartment, which has just been put up for sale at €561,000.
Within the context of COVID-19, this apartment has just returned for sale. It's a large two-room apartment which consists of a living room with its open kitchen fully equipped and ready to use.
Two similar properties have already been sold by this agency in the last month, after their previous owners began to suffer financially.
The owners could no longer assume their loan, and so for a little while the bank had agreed to put a freeze on the loan. This extended the repayment period for these homeowners, but now it's become too complicated.
As a consequence, more and more apartments are coming back on the market, with lower sale or rental prices.
It's a phenomenon I have never seen before, and in fact, I had to convince the owners to lower the price, which is quite complicated when you've made an investment. As a result, with rents in Paris so high, we're now looking for a better return through rents.
According to a recent study by a rental website, 73% of the owners interviewed want to put their apartments back on the classic rental market.